And now our father has made us swear, both me and him, that we will not seek after evil, either one against his brother, but that we will continue with an affection and a peace, each one with his brother, so that we will not corrupt our ways. And they said, We will not listen to you in order to make peace with him, because our might is stronger than his might, and we are stronger than he. We will go against him, and we will kill and destroy him and his sons. And if you do not go with us, we will do harm to you. And now listen to us, and we will send to Aram, and to Philistia, and to Moab, and to Ammon, and we will choose for ourselves chosen men who are ardent in battle, and we will go against him, and we will fight with him, and we will uproot him from the land before he seizes power. And their father said to them, Do not go and make war with him, lest you fall before him. And they said to him, This very thing is your type of act from your youth until this day, and you put your neck under his yoke. But we will not listen to these words. And they sent to Aram and to Aduram, and to their father's friend, and they hired from them 1,000 fighting men, chosen warriors. And they came to them from Moab and from the Ammonites, those who were hired, 1,000 chosen men, and from Philistia 1,000 chosen fighting men, and from Edom and from the Hurrians 1,000 chosen fighting men, and from the Kittim strong men, warriors. And they said to their father, Go forth with them and lead them, and if not, we will kill you. And he was filled with wrath and indignation when he saw that his sons were forcing him to go before them in order to lead them to Jacob his brother. But afterward he remembered all the evil which was hidden in his heart against Jacob his brother, and he did not remember the oath which he swore to his father and his mother, that he would not seek any evil against Jacob his brother all of his days. And with all of this, Jacob did not know that they were coming against him for battle. But he was lamenting Leah his wife, until they drew very near to the tower with 4,000 men, warriors and chosen fighting men. And the men of Hebron sent to him, saying, Behold, your brother has come up against you in order to fight with you, with 4,000 men who are girded with swords and bear shields and military weapons, because they loved Jacob more than Esau. And they spoke to him because Jacob was a more generous and merciful man than Esau. But Jacob did not believe them until they drew very close to the tower. And he closed the gates of the tower, and he stood on the battlement and spoke with his brother Esau, and he said, Is the consolation with which you have come in order to console me concerning my wife who died good? Is this the oath which you swore to your father and again to your mother before they died? You have sinned against the oath. And on the day when you swore to your father, you were condemned. And at that time Esau answered and said to him, Mankind and beasts of the field have no righteous oaths, with which they have surely sworn forever. But daily they seek evil, one against the other, and each one seeks to kill his enemy and adversary. And you will hate me and my sons forever, and there is no observing of fraternity with you. And Jacob said, Do not act thus, my brother. As for me, there is no evil in my heart against you. Do not plan evil against me. Know that there is a God, and he sees what is hidden, and requites to everyone according to his deeds. Calm down the heat of your anger, and do not do anything rashly, so that evil will come upon you. Then Esau turned and said harshly, Hear these words of mine which I will speak to you. If a boar changes his hide and his bristles, and makes them soft as wool, and if he brings forth horns upon his head like the horns of a stag or sheep, then I will observe fraternity with you. And if sucklings separate themselves from their mother, you would not be a brother to me. And if the wolves make peace with the lambs, so as not to eat them or assault them, and if their hearts are set upon them to do good, then peace will be in my heart for you. And if the lion becomes the friend of the ox, and if he is bound with him in a single yoke, and he plows with him and makes peace with him, then I will make peace with you. And if the raven becomes white like the raza bird, then know that I will love you, and I will make peace with you. You will be uprooted, and your sons will be uprooted, but you will have no peace. And when Jacob saw that he had planned evil against him from his heart, and from his whole being, so that he might kill him, and so that he had come leaping like a wandering boar who had come upon a spear which was piercing him and killing him, and he would not withdraw from it, then he spoke to his own followers and to the servants, so that they might attack him and all his friends. And afterward Judah spoke to Jacob his father, and he said to him, O father, stretch out your bow and shoot your arrow and strike down the enemy and kill the adversary. And may you have might, because we will not kill your brother, inasmuch as he is near to you, and with us he is like you with respect to honor. And then, when Jacob drew his bow and shot an arrow and struck Esau his brother on his right breast, he killed him. And again he shot an arrow and struck Adoran the Aramean in his left breast, and drove him back and killed him. And afterward the sons of Jacob and their servants went forth to divide themselves on the four sides of the tower. And Judah went out in front, and Naphtali and Gad, and 50 servants with him on the south side of the tower. And they killed everyone they found before them, and not a single one escaped from them. And Levi and Dan and Asher went forth on the east side of the tower, and 50 men were with them. And they killed the warriors of Moab and Ammon. And Reuben and Issachar and Zebulun went forth on the north side of the tower, and 50 men were with them. And they killed the fighting men of the Philistines. And Simeon and Benjamin and Enoch the son of Reuben went forth on the west side of the tower, and 50 men were with them. And they killed 400 strong men, warriors of the Edomites and Hurrians, and 600 fled. And the 4 sons of Esau fled with him, and they left their slain father just as he had fallen on the hill which is in Aduram. And the sons of Jacob pursued them as far as the mountain of Seir. But Jacob buried his brother in the hill which is in Aduram, and he returned to his house. And Jacob's sons besieged the children of Esau on the mountain of Seir, and they bowed down their necks to become servants of the children of Jacob. And they sent their father to ask whether they should make peace with them, or whether they should kill them. And Jacob sent notice to his sons to make peace. And they made peace with them, and placed a yoke of servitude upon them, so that they might pay tribute to Jacob and his sons always. And they continued paying tribute to Jacob until the day that he went down to Egypt. And the children of Edom have not ceased from the yoke of servitude which the 12 sons of Jacob ordered upon them until today. And these are the kings who ruled in Edom before a king ruled the children of Israel, until today in the land of Edom. And Balak, the son of Beor, ruled in Edom, and the name of his city was Danaba. And Balak died, and Jobab, the son of Zara, who was from Boser, ruled instead of him. And Jobab died, and Asam, who was from the land of Teman, ruled instead of him. And Asam died, and Dadath, son of Barad, who killed Midian in the field of Moab, ruled instead of him. And the name of his city was Avith. And Adath died, and Salmon, who was from Amasekah, ruled instead of him. And Salmon died, and Saul, who was from Raaboth by the river, ruled instead of him. And Saul died, and Ba'elunan, son of Achbor, ruled instead of him. And Ba'elunan, son of Achbor, died, and Adath ruled instead of him. And the name of his wife was Maitabith, daughter of Matarat, daughter of Metabedzaab. These are the kings which ruled in the land of Edom. And Jacob dwelt in the land of his father sojourning, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. And Joseph was 17 years old when they brought him down into Egypt. And Potiphar, Pharaoh's eunuch, the chief of the guard, bought him, and he set Joseph over all of his house. And the blessing of the Lord was upon the house of the Egyptian because of Joseph. And the Lord caused everything which he did to prosper. And the Egyptian left everything in the hands of Joseph, because he saw that the Lord was with him. And the Lord caused everything which he did to prosper. And Joseph was good-looking and very handsome. And the wife of his master lifted up her eyes and saw Joseph and desired him. And she begged him to lie with her. And he did not surrender himself, but he remembered the Lord and the words which Jacob his father used to read, which were from the words of Abraham, that there is no man who may fornicate with a woman who has a husband, and that there is a judgment of death which is decreed for him in heaven, before the Lord Most High. And the sin is written on high concerning him in the eternal books always before the Lord. And Joseph remembered these words, and he did not want to lie with her. And she begged him for 1 year, and he turned away and refused to listen to her. And she embraced him and seized him in the house, so that she might force him to lie with her. And she shut the door of the house and seized him. And he left his garment in her hand, and he broke the door and fled outside, away from her presence. And the woman saw that he would not lie with her, and she falsely accused him before his master, saying, Your Hebrew servant whom you love desired to seduce me, so that he might lie with me. And it came to pass, when I raised my voice, that he fled, and he left his garment in my hand when I seized him, and he broke the door. And the Egyptians saw Joseph's garments and the broken door, and he heard his wife's story, and he put Joseph in prison, in the place where the prisoners whom the king imprisoned stayed. And he was there in that prison. And the Lord gave Joseph favor and mercy before the chief guard of the prison, because he saw that the Lord was with him. And the Lord caused everything which he did to prosper, and he left everything in his hands. And the chief guard of the prison knew nothing which was with him, because Joseph did everything, and the Lord perfected it. And he dwelt there 2 years. And in those days Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, was angry with 2 of his eunuchs, with the chief of the butlers and with the chief of the bakers. And he put them in prison, in the house of the chief of the guard, in the prison where Joseph was held. And the chief of the guard of the prison ordered Joseph to serve them, and he served before them. And both of them had a dream, the chief of the butlers and the chief of the bakers, and they told it to Joseph. And just as he interpreted to them, so it happened to them. And Pharaoh returned the chief of the butlers to his task, but he killed the baker, just as Joseph interpreted for them. But the chief of the butlers forgot Joseph in the prison when he made known to him what would happen to him. And he did not remember to tell the Pharaoh what Joseph told him, because he forgot. And in those days Pharaoh dreamed 2 dreams in a single night concerning the matter of the famine which would come upon all the land. And he awoke from his sleep, and he called all of the interpreters of dreams and magicians who were in Egypt. And he told them of both his dreams, but they were unable to explain them. Then the chief of the butlers remembered Joseph, and he told the king about him. And he brought him out of the prison, and told both of the dreams in his presence. And he said in the presence of the Pharaoh that both of his dreams were one. And he said to him, 7 years will come, abundance will be in all the land of Egypt, but afterward 7 years of famine, which is unlike any previous famine, will be in all the land. And now let Pharaoh appoint overseers in all the land, and let them store up food for a city within the city during the days of the plentiful years, and there will be food for the 7 years of famine. And the land will not perish in the presence of the famine, because it will be very severe. And the Lord gave Joseph favor and mercy in the sight of the Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to his servants, We will not find a man wise and knowledgeable as this man, because the Spirit of the Lord is with him. And he set him second in all of his kingdom, and he made him rule in all of Egypt. And he made him ride upon the second chariot of the Pharaoh. And he invested him with a garment of byssus, and hung a gold chain on his neck. And they proclaimed before him, El wa Abirir, and gave him the signet ring on his hand. And he made him rule over all his house, and he made him great. And he said to him, I will not be greater than you, except regarding the throne alone. And Joseph ruled in all the land of Egypt. And of all of the judges and all of the servants of the Pharaoh and all of those who did the king's work loved him, because he walked uprightly, and he had no pompousness or arrogance or partiality. And there was no bribery, because he ruled all the people of the land uprightly. And the land of Egypt was at peace before the Pharaoh on account of Joseph, because the Lord was with him and gave him favor and mercy for all his family before all who knew him and those who heard witness of him. And the kingdom of the Pharaoh was upright, and there was no Satan, and there was no evil. And the king called Joseph Sephantiphans, and he gave the daughter of Potiphar, the daughter of the priest of Heliopolis, the chief of the guard, to Joseph as a wife. And on the day that Joseph stood with the Pharaoh, he was 30 years old when he stood with the Pharaoh. And in that year Isaac died. And it came about just as Joseph related concerning the interpretation of the 2 dreams. And there were 7 abundant years in all the land of Egypt. And the land of Egypt was very fruitful, 1 measure yielding 1,800 measures. And Joseph gathered the food of a city into the city until it was full of grain. And they were unable to count or measure it because of its magnitude.